Right, welcome everyone to Redhill Fishery near Monmouth, and today we're doing a live match. I think it's some commercial champs. I can't remember what their thing is. I probably can't pronounce it properly, but it's a Welsh commercial champs. And we're over mollies, sophies and pennies up the top there. And I've actually drawn, I'll show you the peg when we get down there. Put that peg there, 17 mollies, got wind coming in. Now, I've recently just fished a fish hub festival here, so I don't really know anything about this lake loads. I've been on sophies, I've been on pennies twice, but I'm on mollies, and this produced some really good weights. Now the water's down a bit, so maybe fishing on the bottom might be a little bit better than shallow. I'm sort of like, I'm not in a corner, but I'm near the corner. Now I feel like, because these lakes are like, they're not little, but they're not massive, so I think you need to be in the middle to catch shallow properly. But because I'm in the corner, I think I'm just going to have to try and make my short line and my edges work. I'll see what it plums up like. If it plums up, I think for shallow, I'll have a go and see what it is like. But I'm just gonna get the gear out of the van. I've dropped Dad off. He's drew the same peg as I did in the festival Thursday, so he should have a lovely day on Sophie. So let's get down to the peg. I'll get set up and I'll show you what we're gonna go through, and then we'll do a bit of live match, but hopefully we can catch loads. Right, so just about 9 or 10 minutes before the start. So all I've done is quite shallow this peg, so I've got a nice edge down to my left. It's 18 inch. And it's really shallow until about 6 meters. It's probably like 20 inch, and then it drops off. So I got like 3.5 foot and 30 meters. So what I'm going to do, the shelf starts at 6 meters. So what I'm thinking is try and do it at 13. If the wind becomes a problem, or I feel like I can't catch shallow, what I might do is I might drop back to 7 meters. Now what I'm going to do short as well, it's about 20 odd inches deep short. So you know, start on pellets there, just tap 4 mils in, just throw a few and pot a few, being dead negative 6 mil, see what I can catch there, see what fish are around, and then might change it later to either throwing dead maggots or casters, depending on how I can get away with it. Now, I might be able to throw 4 mils there as well, but just going to see how it goes. But that's the plan of attack. I've got casters up and down long, I've got, pellets short and an edge line as well, so hopefully I can catch a few in the edge. Just need to get me nets, so I'll get me nets on my toolbar and I'll get set up, and we'll see you at the start of the match. Right, so that's the all of them. So all I'm going to do, I'm just shotting my edge rig up, forgot. Well, I'm going to drop in short. Have a little look on the 4 mils. Tapping 4 mils, 6 mil on the hook, and I'm going to look to these feed some casters. Now, it is quite shallow, but I just think that's the water's down and stuff, so I'm a long way off the water. Just going to get that in there, that sign. It'd be interesting to see how quick we get a response. So, the only thing I'm worrying about is like, that's a bite straight away. It's a good sign that the wind's coming into this bank, but it's going to make fishing a little bit longer difficult, so that's why I've plumbed up that like 7-8 metre line, just because I feel like that could be a nice little area. That's where the depth is in the peg. It doesn't get any deeper as it goes further out. That's where the depth is in the peg, so that'll make it a bit of both. I can maybe catch on the bottom and catch shallow, but if I feel I've got this wind pushing in, so what it might allow is it's really flat here, so this rig here can actually fish that like a metre or two off the bank. So what that enables is me to be able to maybe chuck casters or chuck pellets or something. Another bite. 2 quick signs there, which is good. But maybe I'm going to feed a little bit less bait. Calm everything down. Drop that rig in. Only dead shot. Yeah, it's got a sign indication straight away. So what might happen is, and what I can find is the bottom doesn't really change closer to me. So if it gets a little bit harder to catch these fish, I can come a lot closer. but because when I come on the festival, there was a lot less on the lake, so that everyone caught dead close. But because there's a little bit more, I just thought it'd be a bit dubious to try and catch really close for now. But I know what it's like at these venues. There's a lot of fish, and the depth isn't really going to bother them if they want to feed. Just a couple of indications early then. That didn't feel like a F1 or carp, that one. Just rattle some pellets in. Now my rig there is just a 4x12 F1 maggot. Now, I should have really tied some excesses up, but I didn't have time last night and they only just turned up yesterday. But that's what I'd look to use, like that slim body, little shallow water. That's a roach. That may be the case, just maybe a little roach on a 6mm. Maybe that's what's pecking at a bait there. Might take a few feeds to actually get a carp to come in. Like I said, we have had a few plucks and stuff. But yeah, I'm just starting the match on pellets on like a top, short free, a short kit, short free in number 4 section, so be like a top kit in 1 if you're fishing long kits and a long free. Just letting it nice and flat. What you find here is there's like rocks in the edge, so what can happen is you can get a lot of rocks in your peg if you come really close to the bank. That was an F1 bite, that one. Chuck a bit of bait in. I need to just want to try and catch one and start feeding that long line, but get a few signs which I don't think are F1s and carp, but that's the problem when you don't come on lakes like this. You don't know what that is. For example, say if I went on the other 2 lakes, I've had a little go on them and know what sort of fish are in the lakes, but with this lake I've never been on it. I know it's predominantly F1s and stuff, but there's going to be silvers and stuff. I'll have to start feeding that long line, I think. Feed some casters. As that wind does get up and starts causing a problem, it'd be a little bit hard to catch them and group my bait, so that's why I'm all dubious of like trying to go too far on my bait. I want to see where I can group it nice. Lad next to me just started on a top kit and he's had that's a better fish, that one. There we go. Fair way off the water, so I've just got a bit of a longer landing angle. Now, like I said, on this rig I've got an F1 maggot, but I've got an 015 hook length because I might catch some carp on it. I know Gaz in the festival, yeah, it's a nice little carp. I know Gaz in the festival, he actually won the lake on the second day on this lake by literally just fishing next to me where that peg 16, just fishing shallow in the edge. So I know that he caught carp as well, so I know it can be carp here on these sort of lakes. So just important just to make sure I'm geared up right. I don't want to just fish like an 013 hook length thinking it's just F1s. I'll make sure I can get some carp in. Now Now, there might be some big carp in, but I feel like pennies there is really a lot more big carp, I think. I could be wrong, but got the hook lamps there if we need them. Now, what I found that festival is 4mm weren't great for catching these fish. They didn't really want to eat them, they wanted like soft bait, so like micros and stuff were miles better, micros and natural bait. So what we might find is we might be better throwing casters later or dead maggots, coming a bit closer to our nets, doing that there. So that was like what you can find is if I'm missing a few indications here, just the fish don't really want to eat that bait, but they're going to come in. But we have got the edge and shallow, so I feel like this short line won't be too important, but it could be. Just want to make sure that I have a nice little start. Just thought it'd be a nice little place to start. So you're not going to get thousands of fish in your peg because of the depth, but just pellets are just a nice little fast way to start. That's what I'm thinking. Start on my pellets like I have. Loose feed that caster line. Hopefully you can see a couple of signs in the next half an hour or so. Might be able to drop on the bottom. Might be able to go drop on the bottom or catch a few fish shallow. Now overshotting is banned today, which I don't mind, but a lot of the weights on this lake are on an overshotted rig, so it's going to make it interesting, and I sort of like it that way because I feel like it can make the fish a little bit harder to catch, and you got to really think about your rigs now. We've got a couple of jiggers set up, one at like 2 foot, and we've got one at 3 foot, which I might have to shorten down, and then we've got a long line dibber and an F1 shallow. Just basically keep the line away, but I feel like that wind's going to make it really hard to try and present the rig. Getting a few signs there, but I just think it's silvers. Don't feel like if it was carp, I just feel like I'd come in and eat it, but someone did say it might be a little bit slower in this lake. Don't expect it to be rife, but it is a great fishery, so you never know. But we'll keep you updated throughout the day. Just try and see if we can nick one more. That's what I'm thinking at the minute. That's the lines we set up.
You don't want any silvers in any carp, like?
So I mean, I think like the decision we got to make here is maybe just wait, just go through the motions for the first hour or two, try and get the most we can out of the peg, and then think about what we need to fish, whether we need to catch in a edge or what to feed on this short line, because I've got casters, dead maggots. I can fish some pellets, but I don't feel like that'll be right. Don't feel like that'll be right after that festival. Well, that's a small little. Yeah, there seems a lot of silvers there at the minute, which is strange. Just going to plod on with this now. That's a little match set up. We've got a caster line up and down long. We've got pellets short at the minute, which is not great, but I've just seen a fish turn my bait there actually. I think it was. Might have been seeing things, but yeah, pellet short's a little bit slow, but it's to be expected. It was never good last week. I just feel like the fish don't want to eat hard baits, they all want natural baits or like micros. So maybe fishing in the edge to start with might have been a little bit better option, but Last week on the festival I actually fished in the edge a bit closer to myself, but today I've just gone like where I am now, down the edge, like top 4 down the edge, just because it plumbed up really nice next to this post, and because there's obviously more people on the lake, I just feel like fishing a little bit further away from myself is going to make it a bit easier to catch. So yeah, that's where we are at the minute. Little start on pellets. We've not had thousands of indications, and I feel like it might just be a little bit too shallow and a little bit too close for now, but I think as the day goes on, the fish start to feed. I think it'll be a line where we'll be fishing later on there or in the edge, I think. But for now, I think I'm going to have to keep feeding that shallow line. Make sure I'm just ticking along nicely, and then hopefully the last 2 hours you can do some real damage in the edges. But like I said, we're in like sort of a cornery sort of the lake, so shallow might not be as good, but we might have to rely on the sort of edge fishing for later on. So just keep trying to plod on with this pellet line short to start with. Just see if we get a sign off that little indication of throwing some bait in. Yeah, that's straight. Yeah, that's what I might have to do. Make a bit of noise, but try and feed a little bit less bait. It's a nice carp, that one. Ooh. Yeah, I might have to feed a little bit of noise, because that, what you can find, it's like that little scenario we had it like Broneffian, and we had it Westwood, where it's shallow, so the fish come in. They're not going to sit in your peg, obviously, because it's so shallow, but you make a bit of noise, the fish will come in and out a little bit more, so maybe get this fish in. I'll carry on fishing and see if I'll take the pot off and see, like throwing 5 or 6 pellets twice in. Not a lot of bait, just so it makes it easy to catch them. Just see if that can work. That's a nice carp, that one. That's a 4 pounder, so 2 fish there in what? 15 minutes. So it's all about working it out and see how we get on. But I'll come back and update you, and hopefully we've got a few more. Right, so you join me coming up to 2 hours in, and it's been quite difficult for what I was expecting. I had them 2 fish that we've seen on camera, and then I've only caught, well, 1 fish up until about 10 minutes ago on the bottom, bonky little carp. Caught an odd skimmer. I've done nothing shallow. I've had nothing shallow, not odd skimmer on the bottom. Just felt like it's fishing difficult this lake, but 10 minutes ago I'd fed me edge after an hour. Seen an odd plume come up, but no like tails and stuff, just an odd plume. So bit of movement there, and I dropped in. I've had one 8 pound, and then I've decided to throw maggots literally just in front of me there, like on the top kit. I'm just going to change my elastic over because I was using that white Jura slip, and I've just changed my elastic over now. Just jumped off my box and picked up a 15's holler, put a size 12 hook on so I can get a nice big bunch of maggots on. I'm literally just fishing out of the top kit, so just loose feeding a few dead maggots, just chucking a few in, and I've literally had an 8 pound carp there, and I've literally just caught a 4 pound carp there. Now I don't know, maybe the F1s are just not feeding today, a bit high pressure, a bit bright, but I don't think anyone on the lake's had an F1, so that's making me think that to do well I'm going to need to catch, say, on this line and down the edge. I will keep still feeding shallow, just because I know what it's like. There is an odd fish top in the middle of the lake, and all it takes is them fish just to drift in, and then all of a sudden you can start to catch shallow. And if they're 2 to 3 pound F1s, you can catch them really quick as well. So I'm not just going to bin it off. I feel like that's a bit too early in the match to do that, but keep throwing these dead maggots in. Like I said, it is fishing a little bit difficult on the lake. for like what I thought it was going to be like. I thought I'd just be able to get an odd bite shallow. Now the weird thing is, when I go on the bottom long on my worm over my caster line, I don't get any indications at all. I don't get any like wobbling, moving round, as where like last week when I was fishing, you were getting loads and loads of sign indications when you were going to catch shallow. But that hasn't been the case today, so maybe it's going to be like a match of 2 halves, where the first, probably for the next half an hour or so, is going to be just try and catch what you can. And then hopefully if you need these shorter lines to kick in properly, then they can do, and you can catch some carp, because obviously you don't need, if the fish there probably average 5 or 6 pounds, you need 20, 30 fish. Ooh, sign then. 20, 30 fish in that later part of the match, and you can have a real good finish. But the crazy thing is, where I was fishing my pellets, it's the same depth on a top kit, so what I want to, it's nice depth to try and catch on this, just over 2 foot, not too shallow, where it's not like 18-inch deep or something, it's like just over 2 foot. It's a nice depth for them big carp, but starting to get like an odd more cloud down the edge and stuff now, so not saying there's loads of fish here, but I just feel like it's going to get better. And if any feeding fish, they are going to come to like this area, because obviously the wind's blowing down here. Seen an odd carp milling around. A big perch. But even thought I'd catch the perch. Even I thought I'd catch like an odd fish on my worm line on the bottom, say like skimmers or an odd F1, but I've caught next to nothing there, which is, but the indications is the weird thing. Normally when I fish on the bottom 2 times of the 3 days over your shallow line, the amount of indications and bites you got when there was fish there is just ridiculous. So I just feel like that might be the case, that the fish are not coming from the middle of the lake, and maybe I've just got to still feed it, because they might just turn up. You could have last 2 hours, you could easily catch 60, 70 pound an hour if they turn up. But one thing I noticed, one thing as well, when the lakes are fishing a little bit harder, you just look around and you notice people start to hook a few more fish. It just tells you it might be getting a little bit better. It was a slow start, but I hope now I'm probably on this line a little bit early, but I just seen a few signs of fish there, like a plume come up, and I just thought, you know what, why not just have a little look, and then obviously I caught a carp straight away. I feel like that line late on could be really good. It's just a shame that shallow line didn't make us take over, but not sure what it is. As well, I'm the only really person that's done it on this lake, so I feel like maybe that people know something, being regulars, or I just felt that if I was the only person doing it, I'd draw a lot of fish into my peg. The lad on peg 5, he's probably the best I've seen on the lake. He's probably got 8 or 9 fish, maybe a few more, but he's just sat on the edges, so that just shows to me maybe that was the way to do it. Just set little traps in the edges, wait what I can. But I just feel like the way I've set my match up today, I've tried to catch a big weight to obviously try and win. But at the minute, obviously because I can't catch on my lines, which I think I'm just going to tick over on, which is like my shallow line, I'm up and down on casters, is I just feel like I just feel like that maybe this line and the edge line are probably an hour early to kick in, so maybe if I can get to like 40-50 pound, I've got £20 a clicker now. There's one. £20 a clicker now. But I don't need many fish if they come there. You can see, because it's so shallow as well, what you find is you can just, like, they don't really swim off because of the shallowness of it. That's where you got deeper venues. You go down in the depths, but with this, like, this style venues, they just pop up because they're so shallow at the minute. That's what I mean, you don't need many of them to get to 30 or £40, 40-50 pound quicker. Proper carp. Just on bunches of dead reds. But you could imagine now, say if I went back in now and hooked one straight away, like you could do at the end of the match, you can see how you can build a weight fast. So I'm not too worried yet. I feel like it could all turn in our favour. Just gotta keep. There you go. That's how quick you can catch him. Jesus. That was a quick bite, that. Oh, foul up. Okay. Foul up that one. But after that commotion, that's the thing. After that commotion of that fish playing it and putting it in your net and stuff, it doesn't, that depth just helps. So you can imagine, say if the fish were feeding aggressively, you feed some bait and they just come straight back to you. That's what we're going to look for. I'm going to feed loads and loads of bait, but got to keep a bit going in. Keep that shallow line topped up, because I might need to have a little look on that in a minute. Like I said, I feel like I'm a bit early for these lines, but needs must for at the minute. That would have been ideal if that fish was in the mouth, but that's what happens sometimes. A lot of fish in these venues. I'm not going to let it worry me too much. You just want to settle down, just because the way it is at the minute. Obviously, there you go, that's quick enough for that. Just try and, when you play them, just try and play them not right in front of you. But yeah, like I said before, if you can catch on this, got the right elastic and the right rig on now, that's an F1. First F1 on it. Catch on this pretty quickly. You can reel, put a weight together. So I'm thinking now, if I can get to, say, £50 with 2 hours to go, you're still in the hunt, I think. I'll feel like you will be. But you don't really know what's going to win. I feel like pennies could be really good, but I gave my dad a little ring before. I'll take them off. Give my dad a little ring, and he said he had £20-25 probably like 10 minutes ago. So he said no one's really catching on there. But the thing is, at this venue is the fish are that big, you don't really need to bag. And if you do bag late on, that's when you can put a weight together. So I'll just try to see if we can catch one more now. But we'll try and do a little update where if we're fishing, catching a few more. Now where I'm throwing my bait is I'm trying to chuck it past. It's the same depth, it's flat, but the last thing I want to do is chuck it towards my nets and let it all, they get the fish coming past. I want to try and gather them out there and try and make my point of my rig like the limit of where they're going to come to. Carp there on the surface. So I mean, you might notice there's an odd fish lingering around and stuff. I'm gonna have a go for him. Put that down. There's the rig. Where's he gone now? This will be classic to picked up my rig and he's gone. Standard. And then as soon as you put the other rig back in, he'll pop back up. That's what you're going to notice, fish lingering about, so like, you might start to see a few more carp and stuff. But that's a good sign. I've had a couple of carp. I had an F1 a carp on camera. I had one before we got there, so that's a good sign, because this could really get me out of there, pull me back into it if this starts to go. Like I said before, it's only dead close to yourself. It's the right fish. You've got the right gear on. If you can start to catch quickly on that, and that's how you're going to build your weight, sort of thing. This is what I'm thinking. I'm not too worried. I know it's not the ideal position to be in, but say if like 170 to 190, 200 pound winds, I feel like I still could catch that. Just because if you're catching the right areas, the stamp of the fish I had down the edge is like 8 pound, and if you can catch a few of them, you need 5 or 6 of them throughout a little period of catching. You've got a bigger weight than you think. So it's not frantic at the minute, but I feel like this is only going to get stronger if it will. I'm going to need it to be honest. So that's where we're at the minute. Probably, yeah, we've got 2 hours 20, so still a little bit of time to go. Probably not going to get to 40, 50 pound before 2 hours to go, but you never know. I could hook 2 fish here for easily 15 pound and maybe have a look in the edge, so you never know. So we'll keep plodding on, keep feeding that shallow line, but I'm going to have to make a decision at some point. If my short line on my edge line gets good, I'm going to have to make a decision and maybe bin it off and just concentrate on these 2 lines of trying to focus and build that weight to try and win the match. Don't get me wrong, yeah, I want to do well on my lake, but I actually am. My goal is to try and win the match. Always want to give yourself the best chance. You want to fish in the right areas. That's what's really important. So just stay on, because I feel like I'm going to get one here. I've just had a couple of indications and see a bit of movement in the water. So hopefully fish just picks out my up bait in a minute. But like I said, when they start competing, they do start to come in from the lake. This can be deadly when they start to come after the hunting for your maggots. I'm going to keep potting my edge as well. All I've been doing is I've not been feeding loads, like a full pot every time. Just literally like 2 large cab pots worth, like maybe 100 mil of bait. Just been doing that. Now you may think just because of dead maggots they all be laying on the bottom, but I feel like the fish like that noise of just and then falling through the water. So just keep. See, oh yeah, that'll bite then straight away as soon as that leaf went in the water. I feel like the fish like the noise of them going through the water and watching them drop through the water. So always just you only have to pick up a little pinch of them, probably 20 to 30 maggots, but. Come on. That's the key with this fishing as well. If you do go to do it, make sure you got a nice big fusible hook bait on, so like 8 to 10 maggots or big worm or 2 worms. That can be really good sometimes. I feel like it's going to go, so I'm going to stay on it. That can be really good sometimes just because it's a big standout bait. It's an F1, that's why it's a bit missing a few bites, that's what it was. Why haven't they gone on the bottom? They've gone shallow, I mean. But, so we'll keep persevering with that. It's a good sign if we can catch an odd fish on the bottom. Keep plugging away with the deads, and we'll see you in about an hour's time. It's how we're getting on. Now, sorry to interrupt the video, but don't forget to like and subscribe. It just helps with the channel, and I'll let you get back to the rest of the video now. Right, you join us with an hour and 20 left, so we've got to like I've got 55 on my clicker, but so I've got a full net and I've started my second net now. But what I'm going to find is a little run. I went back out shallow, and that was a waste of time, to be honest. I caught two F1s, which were my first 2 fish. I think I had one on the bottom as well, but then I've caught nothing there. So what I've done is I just thought, right, I need to commit. There's good money for the lake today, so I thought, right, I need to commit and just try and win the lake. 2 lads over there probably doing best at the minute, so I feel like, right, I'm probably on a better peg than them, so I just need to focus, fish a couple of swims, make sure I make the most of like where I'm going to catch my weight of fish, because I feel like shallow, yeah, it might have come good, but I don't feel like it would, just because the way it's been. I just feel like it's a bit too much of a gamble, as well as just fishing in the edges and shore could be really effective. Now, what I've decided to do is I've had a lot of F1s on me, like dead maggot line here. Now they can be quite hard to catch, obviously, because it's not really an ideal bait for them. I'm trying to catch carp there really, but what I've decided to do is, I know when I plumbed up, that off the bank there is quite flat, so I had a few casters left. So I thought, why not just open up a line about 5 metres out and throw a few casters, fish like 14's hook and put like 3 or 4 dead maggots on the hook. A bit more F1y, like I know it's quite positive for F1s, but just a bit more F1y than like a size 12 and stuff. So I've just done that, and that's my first drop on it and my first fish, but I just need to sort my rig out because I need a shot. Now, I spoke to Dan, a lad I know called Dan Driscoll. He's just been pleasure fishing on these lakes, and he just come and said to me that the guy on the end peg on pennies is admitting to like £70 to £80, which I think we have at the minute. So I thought, right, well, I'm not too far behind, but you never know. I feel like that lake could get better than this one, but you never know. We're still feeding our left edge as well with micros. Put 4 maggots on. Still throwing some dead maggots in as well. I feel like I do need to catch some carp, and that might be the best line to catch them on, but I'm just going to have to rotate these 3 lines, I think, off the bank in front of my nets and down that left edge. Rotate them 3 lines. I feel like that's going to give us the best chance of like getting, and probably being realistic, like 130, 140 is probably going to be a good weight on this lake. But I think now coming to the stages we are, I'm going to catch that sort of weight. I need to catch a few carp, which I can't control obviously when they come in the peg and stuff, but I feel like I need to get a bit of a luck with catching a few carp on the short pole and stuff. So I was getting regular bites from F1s, so it's not all too bad. Now if I come any close to the bank there, obviously it's quite rocky, so it's off. It's quite rocky, so I don't want to come too close to the bank. There's a nice little flat area, I can just chuck a few casters on. Lost a few maggots there in the process. A couple on my line on my leg. But yeah, I've got to keep my lines topped up. I've been big potting it a bit more regular as well to my left, just a bit more heavy, just trying to draw something in. Now last time I did that on this place, it was a bit, it killed it a little bit, just brought too many fish in the peg. But I think because what it is today is there's more people on the lakes, obviously there's more pressure on the lakes. The lakes are fishing a little bit harder than when I come on the festival, so it's worth knowing this sort of thing. So if you come on the festival, and there's 10 on the lakes, then you get to see what it's like. That's really important. There's one thing Paul Holland was talking to me about, is we haven't seen the venue like we did last week, where there's only like 5 or 6 on the lakes, which is a bit unheard of really, as where this is probably normal, like open match and club match territory, 8, 9, 10 on the lakes, a bit more pressure and a lot more civilised. But it's still sort of the same methods. It's just obviously you might have to feed a little bit more aggressive to draw fish in, and you can have periods where you don't catch and where you do catch. And just have a little look on that. Just keep feeding nice and regular. Try and get it all around my float. That's the key, noise, just drawing them fish in. I just feel like they might pick that up a little bit easier, them F1s, than I always have a little drop short again on that one, because I did have a little good run at it, so it might be good to rest it. See an odd swirl down the left edge as well, so what I could do with this one now, I just feel like a little cab pot could be really good. Maybe throw when I'm not on it. Start foul looking at them, just because my bait might be spread out a little bit too much. But it's in the mouth, that's what we can. When I net this fish, I'm going to pot it again down that left edge, just because I need to keep trying to draw some carp in. I feel like because it's so shallow. Don't want to pull too hard, because you can end up pulling these F1s off, so just put a good stamp. Just got to plod on and tick away. That's what we're trying to aim to do. It's just try and win the lake. I know I said before I want to try and win the match, but I just feel like I don't want to blow my peg up too much. Just have to be quite active, keep the lines fed, moving around a little bit more than sort of a bagging session, which could have been the case if I drew. Put a little medium pot on. See if that just draws a little. Set a little trap. Hone them fish in. Keep throwing them dead maggots in. One thing I think noise has been important today. So maybe I'm going to have to throw some at some point to try and draw some fish into this little area. Now cab potting might be good when there's a lot of fish there, just to pinpoint and catch them quick, but I'm thinking I might need to throw some just to make a little bit of noise and just to track some into the area. Not many, but I'm just trying to get it nice and accurate around my float. Now I'm not sure whether that first part of the match was just, I never got it. So I never got it right. Didn't get any signs, didn't get any indications. I wasn't probably set up way too positive, but I don't really know what I'd have done different to try and get a few bites. I feel like casters, everything eats them. Carp, F1s, your skimmers. It was just that deck rig was not in many signs. Now one thing that made me go shallow before on that long line was I dropped my deck rig in, caught a fish, and then the next few chucks had a few indications, so I thought, right, there might have been what I said, the few fish have drifted across into that shallower water and be able to catch a few, but I think it was too risky to try and do. So that's all I was thinking, just because I feel like maybe could be catching one a chuck shallow, but I feel like it's a lot easier to try and catch some carp if you can. Line some carp up short, big stamp fish, if you can catch like 5, 6, 7, 8 pounders, then you can have a little bit bigger weight than praying that you hope you catch an F1 or chuck, because you might get to an hour to go and they turn up then, but you could have exactly the same with carp. They're a lot easier to catch as well when they eat. Yeah, there's an odd sign down that left, so yeah, might be foul up there. I'm going to leave that alone, I think, for the minute. I'm going to have a little look down that left edge. I'm having to move around a lot, but as long as I'm feeding the net, I'm not really bothered. That's what I wanted to do, just tick over, try and catch. So what I'm going to do is put this down. Where's my egg rig? There. Nice piece of corn on, not too much bait. Feed that there, keep dropping them in. See, that's going to be my next port of call because I have to give that a little rest. Feed next to the post, drag my rig in. Really important just to get your rig as close as you can to the bank, because literally, if it's any further, what ends up happening is fish just waft it around and you miss your chance to catch them. That's where what I'm doing there now is just setting a little trap. Hopefully there's a few fish lingering like 2, 3, 4 foot away. And they just come, turn around, come back round, see that little pile of bait that's just gone in. You're the only hook bait that's there. I haven't fed any corn. I've just literally fed micro pellets in a little cut down large pot. That seemed the best last time, but I might have to feed a large pot to try and draw something in. Now if I do miss a bite, I will just come straight back and feed again. The reason is I don't know how much bait's there, I don't know where it's been wafted. When the fishing's like this, quite tricky. It might be alright when there's a load of fish there, you can just drop it back in and you nick one straight away, but I only feel like 1s and 2s are going to be coming in there, and they're probably going to be quite hard to catch. So I want to be really tight on my pile. Don't want to be too spread out on my bait. I just want it really neat and tidy. You see, we've got what time it is now. Can't see there, 24, so nearly just got under an hour and 5 left, so probably are going to be looking at like 120, 130 maybe, if you get a little run somewhere. There's an F1, that one. So yeah, I'll keep plodding on. I'll probably come back for the last 20 minutes, but I've got 3 lines on the go. It's a bit more than I wanted, but I feel like at the minute it's a must because there's not many carp coming in. I'm having to chop and change quite a bit to keep these fish coming, but hopefully we can get this second net full, get onto the third and try and win the lake and win us some money back, because there is some good prizes today for the old lake. So what I'm going to do is carry on and I'll be back with like 20 minutes to go. Right, so we come back and it's just not happening today. I'm £4 away from filling my net, so whatever that'll be. But it's just not happening. There's an odd person catching around the lake, but it just feels really, really difficult to get any runs of fish on anything. Now, had a couple on that cast a line to my right, but that didn't seem right. Just an odd foul looker and it took a while. So what I've done is I've changed to feeding casters on my top kit, just because I can keep them a little bit tighter now. feed a little bit less but more often, just to try and draw something in. And what I've done as well is I've put a 16 XSH on, so I've dropped down my hook size, 16 XSH, put like 4 or 5 maggots on. But when I've dropped in the edge to the left, the fish I've caught have been small, been like F1s and smaller carp, which you don't expect really. I've probably got it wrong, if I'm truthfully honest. Probably what I should have done, we've got 25 minutes left. So what I maybe should have done is maybe chuck casters. I've got this. What I mean by I got it wrong is I've got the stamp of fish wrong. Now, the fish that I caught in the edge on Sophie's were a decent stamp, like really good fish. Like what I mean by that is 6 to 12 pound. Same on that Penny's lake. Now, obviously, because I've not been on this lake, I've made a mistake of literally, I should have just got my match a little bit wrong. Looking back now, well, obviously I don't know the lake, so it makes sense now that I've been way too aggressive in how I'm fishing. And I think maybe if, obviously I'm not going to bring live maggots, but live maggots like on the top 4 would have been really good when I've had some F1s and carp in my peg. Just because it's not as selective as it like throwing dead maggots on a top kit, but I did have a few bigger fish, so maybe they're not feeding. But for today's match sort of thing, it's been apparent I've probably done the wrong thing. Now maybe if I fished like 5 or 6 metres I'd have just got lined to death, and maybe fishing where I am now is probably the right thing. But I do feel like I got it a little bit wrong. I'm still potted the edge because I feel like I might need somewhere else to go in a minute, but what I can do with this casters is just be a little bit more efficient with it. I can feed a little bit more regular, make a little bit more noise, but not as much bait, which I think is important. Still got a standout hook bait of dead maggots, but not as big, so I'm not really getting them missed bites and indications which I was getting when I had like 8 to 10 maggots on. Now maybe if I put 8 to 10 maggots on at this stage, I'd probably attract a few more carp, but I feel like if they come in, you know that they were there, you'd see tail patterns and signs, and I just feel like the fish that are in my peg short are like F1s and smaller carp. There you go. Just be nice and patient with it. I just need a little run here now, just to try and get me that like 120, 130 mark. I think I'd be happy if I could win the lake. I feel like that's what target achieves. So they're like the fish, what I mean, probably perfect maggot short fish. And lovely, but just probably the wrong bait to try and chuck in for them sort of fish. Put one more maggot on. Show my shots right, there you go. But yeah, just that's how we're catching a few. Little tiny amounts of caster on the top kit. It's the right depth and stuff, but just little amounts, just try and set little traps. Not loads of fish in my peg, so I don't need to like keep handballing it. I'm just going to keep regular feeding, trying to draw 1 or 2 fish in, trying to make them, pin them down to the bottom and eat. See, the bites on it have been now, since I've gone back on it, it's none of the like, just because I dropped my hook size down. I'll probably miss a bite now, but like it's just been sit there, patient, nice and patient fishing. Told you I miss a bite. But like, the edge hasn't really coloured up properly, and normally on when I've come on this venue, I've only been 3 times, but on that festival days. But when you come, you've had any amount of bait volume in your edge, then they just tail up on it and it makes it really, really hard to catch. But I've had the odd sign, but I don't feel like I've had it where there's like loads and loads of fish and I've fed too much. You're having a few foul lookers as well, that's the problem. Like this doesn't feel that nice. And they hooked. Take my time. But that's why we come match fishing, learning about little things. I've actually enjoyed it because it's not been plain sailing. Like them 3 days of fish were I just felt it was a bit chaotic, but I've tried to feed me net. I've tried to just give myself the best chance of winning my lake. I can see everyone on my lake. I knew that was going to come off. Clown. So what I wanted to do is give myself the best chance of winning the lake. I think it's 160 quid for winning your lake, so it's nothing to be sniffed at. It's not. That's the only problem, like you get the odd foul look and I just feel like the fish are being just not eating it correctly. As where when they think the fish are feeding really aggressively, it's just like in, dump. You don't really lose many fish, but I had a few foul lookers, a few liners, prick fish today. I think that happens when you do get that. But so we've got nearly 17 minutes. Could do with a nice little run here, but it's just hard to get going. I think that I maybe made a mistake there not feeding casters there, because it's a little bit easier to catch them on casters. Little bit more noise, you can feed a little bit less bait, and it's not as daft. But obviously I'm trying to mimic when I had £400 and thinking I need to catch carp to win the match. That's the difference. It just feels like a little carp, to be honest. The difference, but it's been enjoyable. Just try and get over the line now. Get this fish in, and that's 2 nets full, so that's probably like maybe £100 with some silvers, 110. So we can have a nice little flurry of 3 or 4 fish on this short line now. Good stampers. Might get to like 120, 130. I think that could be good today. On this lake anyway. I don't think it'd be good enough overall. I feel like that Penny's Lake, if you have a strong finish on there, you could easily catch, and it's an F1, you could easily catch £80 without even trying. What I'm doing here, say if I'm catching F1s, if I'm catching F1s, they could be catching £6 to £8 carp, but it's strange them fish wouldn't settle out there, but they've come in the edge. But say it's all learning about the venue. Thought about feeding that edge, but I don't feel like I'm going to need to go on it. 10 casters twice. Make a little bit of noise. See if we can catch what we got. 15 minutes. Try and catch 4 fish. 4 fish, that could give us £10 if it's the right size. Maybe like 10, 50, 50. A few silvers, maybe a little bit more than 50 in some of them maybe. So, you could be looking at like 120. That's a bite. That one didn't even move that. That's what I mean. I feel like just fished live maggots here today. That could have been really good. Just feels like one of them days, but not knowing the venue. To be honest, you're going to bring bait. I brought dead maggots, casters, micros, 4 mils. For one match, you're not going to bring everything. You're just going to bring what you're confident with and try and make it work for you. But so I probably could have got away with like fishing 13-inch jaws slip on a short kick and on the bottom, just because the stamp of the fish in a 16 and no 13, but I'm thinking that I'm trying to fish for bigger fish. That's what I feel like I've learned today, which is good. Don't get me wrong, it's brilliant fishing. Just a shame, I know this live match is a bit of a shame that I didn't have a wide variety of methods, but can't be helped. Some days you have to do what you got to do. Don't want to pull him off, that's what I'm scared of doing. That's a nice one. Ooh, yes. Can we have one of them a chuck shallow? That would have been a lovely day, wouldn't it? One of them a bung shallow. There's 4 dead maggots on a little 16. Flick him out, just past. Give me casters, probably like 15 there, something like that. There we go. Come on, don't come off. Chuck a few in. That's what I mean, they're like a smaller stamp F1, aren't they? Put 3 mags, 4 mags on, I'm going to put on. Nice big red ones. And just little runs of fish you need, but it's just hard to catch him. Oh, thought I was going to go there. An indication, but I missed him. Feels like just get little bursts of runs of fish. 6 minutes left. What surprised me though, when I fished worm on the bottom long earlier, I didn't really get marved by silverfish, and I thought I'd catch an odd skimmer or catch some smaller F1s, but nothing. Like I said, the only time I got indications and lines was like 2 hours to go maybe. If I just persevered shallow, they'd have turned up late on, but like I said before, it's just a bit too much of a gamble. One thing I didn't want to do is just gamble everything all into shallow when it was actually like 3.5 foot deep. If it was like 5 or 6 foot, then I'd expect like a volume of fish to come in, but that's foul up that. Yeah, I knew that. I'll put a little bit bigger. I'll put 5 maggots on. Just cut my feet down. Yeah, I just feel like it's been really tricky to catch today. Get a lot of signs in it. You see, I've put a little bit bigger up bait on and just missed 2 bites then. Classic F1s for you. Just that little bit bigger hook bait. Not in the mouth either. What's gone on there now? I just feel like it's gone all weird. There's a fish in the edge now, but I haven't fed that for ages, so. But like I said, it's a carp. That just shows maybe I should have put bigger bait on. See, it's always something that gets you thinking. Maybe I should have sat there with a bit bigger hook bait on, took a few. I caught a couple of carp, but I can't see that making a whole world of a difference. But the thing is with fishing, sometimes it's them small things that change. I'm going to whack it fully up, load it up. Got 3 fish in there now. Come on, one more. 2 minutes. I feel like the thing is though now, I want to be patient, but if I put a bigger hook bait on, I might miss a few bites. But say we fished a little bit later than normal today just because we had to have a redraw, but yeah, I'm not surprised they've come in the edge now. Let's prick that one. See, that's the problem when you have a little bit bigger hook bait. Just do get that off the F1s as where before when I put the smaller one. Yeah, I didn't get any of that, but I didn't target any carp, but this is a carp. What a effing clown I am. Tell you what, I've had a lot to think about, and it might be the longest conclusion in history at the minute, but definitely have 4 fish for 10 or so pounds, so hopefully we can, with a few silvers and a few bigger nets than what I think. That's a nice carp, that one. What an absolute muppet. Just take my time. Come on. Don't want to lose it now. Yeah, maybe I should have. Maybe it's coincidence, but I just felt. Yeah, that's a nice fish, that one. That's what we needed, about 30 of them. Late on. Well, that's the last fish of the day. We're not going to get a chance to get another. Yeah, frustrating, but I feel like we've learnt a lot about the venue as well, which is it's never going to be straightforward. Now, if like I went to Western Pools, say I feel like I know the venue really well, but we're only coming here. This is my 4th match on here, and this is probably what I'm going to say a normal match because there's a lot more on, so there's 10 on. So yeah, we've learnt a little bit about the lakes, brought you along with us. So I'm going to get packed up, see how Mally's got on as well. I hope he's had a good day. And then we'll do a conclusion, probably either in the van or somewhere else, because we'll go back to the presentation and see how we got on. But hopefully we can sneak a late win. If not, we've learnt a few things for next time. Now, I said I'd do the catch up, so we weighed in, I'm going off the top of my head, it's like a couple of days ago now, is weighed in 123 pounds, which won Molly's, which is surprising because I feel like that lake didn't fish brilliantly, but there was £100 opposite on peg 4, I'm going to say, and I've had 123, so I won Molly's, which was nice, got a bottle of wine, 150 quid, can't moan at that, but I feel like I've had a few lessons which are really valuable about that sort of lake and what I need to fish. So going back, I'll just speak about the match. So Danny Baker won on Sophie's with £190, I want to say. He's fished casters at top 4, caught carp, which doesn't shock me because when I was on Sophie's I caught a lot of carp on that lake, so I think that lake's sort of carpy, trying to learning the lake sort of thing. My dad had 120 odd pounds, so he's had a nice day, I think he was on peg 19 on Sophie's, the one I was on the festival. He's had a nice day. I think he just missed out on third on the lake or something. And John Hannon won pennies with £170, but I feel like Colin had to put the aerators on the fishery just because the oxygen was low. It was dead red hot past couple of days. Got the dog here. And he had to put, and there were people saying about the tow, but I feel like if the aerators weren't on and the oxygen was right on that lake, I think that lake could have took them in because they're a bigger stamp. But it was an interesting match. I feel like I've learned a lot about that venue, and I've only been. I feel like on the festival, I got a bit preconceived idea of like, because we had loads of room, didn't really understand what I needed fish for because there's a lot of fish feeding. He's a bit frantic, hectic fishing, shallow on pellets, top kits with casters and maggots and stuff like that. But biggest lesson I'll take from this live match is just take it easy. If I went back on that Molly's Lake, it's a lot of like F1 style fishing. I want to say it reminded me a lot like Westwood, so we can get away with like a 16 GPM and 013 and white jaw slipping a short kit. Maybe should have fished cast a little bit further to start with and then brought them back to my top kit. But I'm not going to moan. I had a great day's fishing, but I love days like that where you learn loads about the venue, and if you went back, live maggots could be really good. Now there's a festival there in a couple of weeks now. I can't go on that, but if I did, I'd probably be taking a few maggots because if I drew that late, because I feel like throwing them short could be really, really good there. Everything eats them, and you can put like 3 or 4 on if you feel like you need to catch some carp, or if you need to catch F1s, you've got the right size hook to put it on. So, someone's trying to ring me. So, yeah, we learned a lot about the lake. Nice little pickup. Nice day out with my dad. So can't moan. But hope you enjoyed this live match. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. But also as well, if you got any questions and stuff, just add them in the comments, and I'll get them answered to you. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next one.